Good. Oh,
And then one
go
other
ahead.
thing on schools that I didn't get to ask the secretary, but I know the White House is committed to trying to open schools 5 days a week. How many hours a day would that include? Are you pushing for full school days 5 days a week?
Yep. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I'm very drawn to the green. I'm sorry. Go ahead. And the red and the green, go ahead.
The president said in the Oval Office, I'm going back to Atlanta, and then I want to ask you another question on the border. But the president said in the Oval Office, he didn't want to make a connection on the motivation of the shooter in Atlanta. But to broaden it out, why does the president think attacks on Asian Americans are increasing in this country? Why does he think that's happening?
Well, he wanted to be very clear because there's an ongoing FBI investigation, right? And he didn't want to attribute motive. There are law enforcement authorities who do that, and it's important to note when the investigation is concluded or not. So that was a bar he was working to respect there. I think there's no question that some of the damaging rhetoric that we saw during the prior administration, blaming, calling COVID, the Wuhan virus or other things, led to, perceptions of the Asian American community that are inaccurate, unfair, have raised, threatening, has elevated threats against Asian Americans. And we're seeing that around the country. That's why even before the horrific events of last night, he felt it was important to raise this issue, elevate it during his first primetime address, why he signed the executive order earlier in his presidency. And he will continue to look for ways to elevate and talk about this issue moving forward.
The president said yesterday he does not have plans to visit the border. Why not?
Because his focus is on action and taking actions and moving forward policies to ensure we are expediting the processing at the border, that we are opening more facilities, that we are putting in place policies that will move kids more quickly through the Border Patrol facilities, more quickly into safe and secure homes. And that's where his focus is.
He doesn't want to get a firsthand look down there himself and talk to officials there. How is he getting updates?
He talks to plenty of officials, and he also has received a briefing with photos and directly from his team who went and visited the border and went to a range of facilities.
How frequently is he getting updates on some of the numbers of people who are being taken in, and how frequently is he talking to officials that are down there who are getting that firsthand look?
Well, he's getting updates. I mean, sometimes it's a part of his PDB. He gets updates regularly. I mean, several times a week. It's an issue that is front and center for him. And certainly he's asking questions in a range of meetings with senior officials about progress that's made, about systems that he thinks should be unstuck, about looking for more creative ideas to help ensure these kids are treated, they are put into safe places, and that the work is expedited at the border. Go ahead.
Jen, there's a report out that the president personally opposes the reopening of the Homestead Detention Center in Florida. Does he have a personal view on it, or is he just deferring to HHS?
HHS is in charge of looking at facilities and which ones are going to be the most appropriate and effective ones to reopen, and he certainly defers to them on decisions that are made on that front.
Because this has been a controversial, and I don't need to tell you this, facility in the past. So he doesn't have a particular position on it. It's still on the table that it could reopen? There
hasn't been a decision. HHS would be the ones making a decision. I don't have anything more about the president's personal point of view about specific facilities.
Just on the president's remarks on taxes last night. Two things. One, when might we expect a major push on this? And two, what does small to significant mean?
It depends on how much money you make. Are you a billionaire? Then you may pay more in taxes than someone making, family making $425. There's going to be a range in any tax proposal. He talked about this on the campaign trail, and he talked about it during this interview last night, in part because it's on his mind about how to ensure people are paying their fair share, and that we are looking for revenue funds to continue to build back better. But I don't have a timeline for you on when you'll hear more. It's just something that he has long had a commitment to, and I expect in the coming months, or sooner than that, you'll hear more about his next stages of his agenda. But this is certainly part of what's on his mind and what he would like to work with Congress on. Go ahead.
Yeah, in the ABC interview, the president said that democracy is having a hard time functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Can you clarify, was he just talking there about the Senate and the filibuster, or is it a broader concern?
He was asked in that frame, and asked in the frame of how to get work done, and how to move forward the agenda for the American people. And the president's an optimist. He is a person who believes that there is a lot of opportunity for Democrats and Republicans to work together, that there is a history of support for some of his major priorities, whether it's infrastructure or solving cancer, taking steps to help cure cancer, to increasing America's competitiveness. There's another bill that's being considered on that front. That there's a lot of areas where even immigration, there's a long history of Democrats and Republicans working together on that policy. So he's a believer that there is an opportunity to work together. But what he's seen is democracy having a hard time functioning. And in part, that is why were there no Republicans who supported a piece of legislation that almost 80% of the American people supported? That doesn't seem like it's democracy functioning there. And so he was answering a question that was about the filibuster, but more broadly speaking about what he's seeing.
And one other thing, because we're required to have an Irish question today.
Sure.
In talking to the Taoiseach, did he make any commitment as far as once presidential travel resumes to a trip there?
I know in his heart he would really like to go, and I'm going to go on that trip. So I'm not aware of any specific timeline for travel or anything along those lines that was made. I'm happy to check for you. He has raised several times that next year St. Patrick's Day will look much different than this year, as I know he did during the meeting. So, everybody get some sleep and rest before a year from now. We've got plenty of time. Go ahead, Jeff.
Jen said he's briefed with photos. Has he asked for or been shown these photos of inside the facilities where some of the children are being held for 3 days?
Yes, that was part of the briefing he received when his team came back.
He approves of what he saw. It didn't look too uncomfortable. I know the media are trying to get in there to get their own pictures. It looks okay to him?
I certainly did not say that. This is the Border Patrol facilities are not facilities made for children. He is committed to expediting the processing at the border. One of the reasons he wanted a briefing from people who have been in there is so he can see himself what it looks like. And he has redoubled, he was already committed before this, his efforts to ensure we limit it to 3 days, and that we move kids as quickly as possible into these shelter facilities where they can have access to health, to medical experts, to educational experts, to legal advice, and even beyond that, one of the practical steps that he's really pushed the team on is how many of these kids, when they come across the border, have a phone number in their pocket, and can we embed HHS and ORR in the system, in the process, so that they can call that number and see if that can be a vetted family member to get these kids connected to quickly. So he wanted all the specific details. He got that briefing, which I talked about a bit in here about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember the timeline. And since then, we've put in place a number of steps to expedite the process, to look for additional facilities, and to look for ways to improve the very challenging situation at the border. Let me just go to make sure I get to everyone. Linda, go ahead.
Sure. Hi. Thanks, Jen. One from me and then one from, I'm the pool reporter, so I have
Okay.
another outlet. So my question actually was for Secretary Cardona, but I'll ask you.
Sure.
Is the Biden administration concerned about the number of families choosing alternatives to public education because of the pandemic? And does the administration have a plan to encourage them to return to public school?
It's a great question. I wish you'd asked him that question. I'm happy to talk to him about it. I know he had a very limited amount of time today. I was just excited to get him here. Look, I know that this past year has not looked for school. As a mother myself, my daughter did not start kindergarten this year. And I know we know a lot of people had to make different choices.